choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
2, 1, 0, liftoff.
In the dawn of a new era in the exploration of the moon and Mars.
Hello, and welcome to Back to the Moon, the podcast where we explore NASA's ambitious plans to return humans to the lunar surface for the first time since 1972. I'm your host, Sean Neri, and today we're going to talk about the challenges and successes of the first moon landing and how they inform the current Artemis program. The first moon landing was a historic achievement for humanity and a culmination of years of hard work, innovation, and courage.
The scale is really unprecedented. 410,000 people worked on Apollo. For every hour that the Apollo astronauts were flying to the moon and walking around and then flying home, for every hour, 1 million hours of work done on Earth. That level of intensity was completely unprecedented.
On July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11 astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first humans to walk on the moon, while Michael Collins orbited in the command module. The mission was not without its difficulties. The lunar module had to avoid a field of boulders and land with only 30 seconds of fuel left. The onboard computer also triggered several alarms due to overload, but the crew and mission control were able to resolve them.
And I could see, and Neil also wanted to avoid a crater that was in front of us. At about 100 feet, there's a light that comes on us, a fuel quantity light. And about that time, the capsule communicator, Charlie Duke, says,
60 seconds. Okay, engine stop. We copy you down, Eagle. Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot.
Armstrong's famous words,
"It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind,"
captured the significance of the moment for millions of people watching on Earth. The Apollo program continued until 1972, with 6 successful landings and 12 astronauts walking on the moon. The program advanced our scientific knowledge of the moon and also inspired generations of explorers and dreamers. However, after Apollo 17, the last manned moon mission, NASA shifted its focus to low Earth orbit activities, such as the Space Shuttle and the International Space Station. The moon remained unvisited by humans for almost 5 decades. But now, NASA is ready to go back to the moon and beyond. The Artemis program, named after the Greek goddess of the moon and the twin sister of Apollo, aims to land the first woman and the first person of color on the moon and establish a sustainable presence there.
Christina, what's your message to everyone watching this? Because this is something that we're going to have the first woman and the first person of color to go around the moon, and eventually that's the same goal once we land on the moon. What's your message to folks watching this?
Absolutely. I think when you say, we've done this before, we actually have never done this before. We've never gone to the moon to stay, and we've never gone to the moon in an era where we know how important it is to go for all and by all. And that's what it means to me. The fact that we are truly answering humanity's call to explore if we represent all of humanity. We recognize how important it is that every single person who has a contribution to make is going to be able to make that contribution, and our missions will be more successful as a result.
The program also intends to use the moon as a stepping stone for future missions to Mars. The Artemis program faces many challenges, both technical and logistical. The program relies on a new rocket, the Space Launch System, or SLS, and a new spacecraft, the Orion, which have to undergo rigorous testing and development. The program also requires a human landing system, or HLS, which is currently being designed by SpaceX, one of NASA's commercial partners. The HLS contract was recently upheld by a judge after a legal dispute with another bidder, Blue Origin. The program also depends on significant funding from Congress, which has not always matched NASA's requests. Despite these obstacles, NASA is making progress towards its lunar goals. The first uncrewed test flight of the SLS and Orion, Artemis 1, was successfully completed in November 2022, sending the spacecraft around the moon and back.
And here we go.
10.
Hydrogen burn-off igniters initiated. 7, 6, 5. 4-stage engine start. 3, 2, 1. Boosters in ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
The next mission, Artemis 2, will send a crew of 4 astronauts around the moon in 2025, testing the Orion systems and capabilities. The third mission, Artemis 3, will land 2 astronauts near the lunar South Pole in 2026, where they will explore the region and collect samples. The Artemis program plans to conduct at least 10 landings in the future, and also build a lunar outpost called the Gateway, which will serve as a hub for scientific and commercial activities. The Artemis program is not only a scientific endeavor, but also a diplomatic and cultural one. NASA is collaborating with international and commercial partners to share the benefits and responsibilities of lunar exploration. The program also aims to inspire a new generation of explorers and to reflect the diversity and inclusivity of humanity. The Artemis program is a continuation of the legacy of Apollo and a new chapter in the story of our species. That's all for today's episode of Back to the Moon. And stay tuned for more updates on NASA's Artemis program.